And we are ready to go into the quarterfinals of the spring playoffs for the Americas region. Cannot wait. We are going to find out who is going to be the first qualifier to the championships. Are going to be joining those 8 players in Shanghai, China.
Yeah, and what a illustrious field that these guys have to live up to when they get there. But if there is one man who has proven time and time again that he has what it takes to compete with Hearthstone's very, very best, it is Muzzy, who is undoubtedly one of America's and one of the world's greatest players. But a very different story for Stark, who has kind of come out of the blue in this tournament. Really his first big appearance, and he's absolutely been killing it so far.
Yeah, he's done exceptionally well. You know, just as you said, one of the few representatives from the South Americas that has actually made it into the quarterfinals. He's been going up against Muzzy. It's his first HGT performance as well, so
exactly.
A huge deal for him getting into this spot. 1 match away, and now we can see the list line up. Not a surprise that Quest Rogue has been banned out by Muzzy here.
Yeah, indeed. Jade Shaman going down from Muzzy's side as well. And I'm looking at that Miracle Rogue from Muzzy as having a big impact in this series. It's very, very threat dense. There's, of course, the Edwin in there. There's 1 questing. There's 2 Arcane Giants. There's a Shaku for some resource generation as well. So that can just make the tempo plays to push through Jade Druid. It can get through the level of greed of Quest Warrior. Important as well to note that Stark's Quest Warrior list is not playing Dirty Rats, which is one of the most powerful cards against a Miracle Rogue. So I'm expecting the Miracle Rogue from Muzzy to pick up a fairly easy win in this series, and it's going to come down to him getting that Quest Warrior and his Control Paladin through. Still, 1 or 2 question marks for me over Control Paladin as a deck. It seems strange to say that about what the 7-0 guy through our Swiss who has Control Paladin as part of his lineup, but it does still seem to lack just a little bit of teeth, a little bit of bite for me.
Yeah, I think what sticks out to me about the lineups overall is that they're not all just control. You know, they're not going for the full control lineup lists. We see Quest Rogue, we see Miracle Rogue, for example, and then Jade Druid from Stark as well. So we'll see how this is going to play out as we get into the first game of the first quarterfinals of the spring playoffs for Americas. It is going to be Muzzy on his Miracle Rogue against Stark's Jade Druid to kick things off.
And this is the start you want when you are facing down the one match that just eclipses every other you have played this weekend in terms of importance. This is one single elimination game to join all those incredible players we've just seen in Shanghai, and life has handed Muzzy the Edwin.
Yeah, this is looking pretty huge already, along with Backstab, along with Prep, along with Eviscerate. Absolutely amazing if you can get this Edwin off early, because one of the key differences from Druid pre-rotation to now is Mulch is no longer a card you are allowed to play in Standard. Druid has no good way at dealing with any big minions, especially when they come out in turn 3.
Right. So Lasher draw here for Muzzy complicates the turn just a little bit. That is the 1 of Lasher in his list. He's going to play it out here. That, of course, gives him another 1-mana spell in hand, which means he can potentially go for the full greed, get an extra +2/+2 on his Edwin if he wants to wait an extra turn here. We'll see how Muzzy chooses to plan this out, because, as you said, just jamming an early 8/8 Edwin on turn 3 is going to be good enough to get there most of the time against Druid, because there's just no reasonable removal for it.
Yeah, and you think, does a 10/10 on 4 really make that much difference? You know, like, that's the key, right? Do you actually want to wait? It can do in terms of, you know, double swipe lines up. You know, the 8 health is at least doable, whereas 10 is a stretch further, but a whole turn later is a very long time.
Well, here's the thing. You say a whole turn, but just the way that the numbers go into 30, making a 10/10 Edwin actually gets you lethal an entire turn quicker if it gets to keep connecting. So there is that argument to make.
10 times 3 is 30.
Story checks out, all right? And just the way the hero powers interact, like, Druid can't periodically gain the 1 to get outside of that, because Rogue just counteracts that immediately with the dagger.
Yeah, Stark is going to make a push onto the board now with this Jade Spirit, so nothing too crazy, but just having something at least is reasonable, although it does open up the Backstab to be used by Muzzy if he wants to use it this turn to go big on this on this Edwin Van Cleef. And I think, to be honest, with the Arcane Giant in hand, it's going to be Van Cleef or questing, I feel, this turn. Like, all the spells that are going to combine with either of one of these minions are only going to help the rest of your hand actually get live.
Yeah, you're right to mention the questing, though, because that might make Muzzy just hedge again here, so that he has He has another big push here, potentially with the questing behind this, but it looks like he might just be going all the way in here with the Edwin. Yeah, Razorpelt is going to get cast. He is going to go all the way through to the 10-10, I believe. And like I said, that is an extra turn, or one less turn for Stark that he gets to live if he can't deal with this Edwin and it keeps connecting to face.
Yeah, there's a swipe, there's a Wrath. You get some of the way there, but if you're not going to get all the way, you're looking pretty rough here. Stark has to...
A mantra to live by, Raven.
Yeah, Stark has to piece together even a potential outcome to try and deal with this Van Cleef and then win the game.
Yeah.
The only benefit you have as the opponent when a big Van Cleef comes down is they normally blow most of their hand, right? They normally don't have a large hand post Van Cleef this early on.
Yep.
So if you can deal with it, even across 2 turns, and you have a reasonable hand to then, reasonable amount of resources to actually play onto the board, you can fight back. But this is a big ask for Druid here.
Huge ask. And the fact that Muzzy can just follow this up with tempo questing if he wants to, especially now he sees the Wrath being cycled here, it's not just Edwin or bust in this situation, and Stark is just going to go ahead and ramp mana and just try and be able to contest this Edwin with huge minions that he draws from his deck on the previous turn. There you see it. Picks up the patches as well to be able to give this a small buff. But this is just a questing played for tempo. This is just diversifying your threats. This is saying, if you find some magical way of dealing with my Edwin Van Cleef, you're not going to be able to do that at the same time as kill my questing. Yeah,
that's it. Just the questing as well, even as a 3-3, even if it was played as a 2-2, to be completely honest, yes, you cannot do both. It was hard enough to deal with the Van Cleef, never mind a questing as well. And Stark just sat back in his chair thinking, okay, what am I queuing next game?
It's probably a good thing to be thinking about at this point, because this game is not looking pretty by any regards. Can take care of the questing, but as we said, Muzzy is totally fine with that questing going down as long as he has that Edwin keeping on trucking. He's looking like he might have one big brick of a turn, which might open a window for Stark to climb back into this, but crucially, that extra attack on the Edwin is just threatening to end this game. One turn, perhaps, before Stark is able to stabilize with things like Primordial Drake, etc.
Yeah, even just the fact that Earthen Scales plus Swipe, if it's drawn, nothing adds up to that 8 damage that is going to be clean and doable for Stark here.
Right.
So what could there be? There could be a Jade Behemoth.
This play's cute. He's avissing a 1-2, which seems very, very strange, but firstly, it takes a minion off the board for a tiny bit of Earthen Scales value. That's not the big deal. The big deal is just spending 2 mana on that Eviscerate this turn means he can now jam Giant on curve if, again, there is some kind of miraculous answer to this Edwin Van Cleef, or a 2-turn answer. Innovate, Primordial Drake comes out this turn, then there's a Swipe the next turn to follow it up. This means he can keep ahead of that with pressure by dropping another 8/8 minion on the next turn.
Yeah, everyone thought Handlock was dead, but it turns out you can actually just play it in Rogue. You can stack up some huge minions, and there's not a lot you can often do about it. The Fel Rage will push him out of range of one more swing, but does one more swing make a difference? What is the follow-up?
No.
Even with the Arcane Giant hidden, imagine the card doesn't exist.
Right.
How are you dealing with this question?
Yeah,
it's still just the problem.
Primordial Drake can be an annoying enough wall in the situation if there's no, say, Vilespine Slayer coming out from the opponent. But yeah, the Feral Rage is just a life support machine for Stark, and Muzzy is about to sign his DNR.
Yep. That was grim.
Sorry, that got
wow.
I apologize. My brain goes to twisted places sometimes. I apologize.
So sunshine, rainbows, and happy things, at least for one of these players, as Muzzy having a very, I don't want to say straightforward in a negative way, but a fairly straightforward first game. Make a huge Van Cleef against one of the classes that cannot deal with a huge Van Cleef. Go. Right. You can't really argue with that.
And like I said, it was the perfect scenario for Muzzy, because this is by far his most important game of the weekend. His 7-0 record can count for absolutely nothing if he loses this series. So the fact that he needed to get off to a good start and the road gods just dealt him the Edwin hand against Druid, that is the dream for Muzzy.
Yeah, second Fel Rage, though. Will keep him alive.
It will.
There's a glimmer. Root. But there's a glimmer of hope here for Stark. Mainly because he can play the Aya with it.
With the Feral Rage?
Yeah.
No, he can't. Well, I mean, he could if he was just going to Ire and gain armor, but he can also Fandral and take the Arcane Giant off the board, right? Sure. Which actually deals with the problem. Like, you can gain 8, but then great, the Arcane Giant just connects with you again the next turn. Like, you have to take it off the board, surely. Aya does generate a much bigger board presence that can then be used to contest the Arcane Giant over the next turn anyway, though. Yeah,
that's what I was meaning. Like, Aya will, in one way or another, more than likely with Muzzy being on no cards, deal with the Giant one way or the other.
This turn is really close for me. This is a print screen turn for me. This goes into the folder. I come back to it the next day, take a look at it. Hallucination picks up Mark of the Wild as the maximum amount of damage. Well, Mark and Claw are the same thing here, which would mean he's pushing 12, needing to do 13. Oh dear.
So he's going to taunt up the Giant, I guess? Push it out of range of any one of the minions?
Right. I think that looks sensible, best, yeah. He can also just cash in the Blood Mage here and look for lethal outs off that if he wants to.
True. It is, I say it's only 1 damage, but if you one damage off, the Druid's always going to hero power. Your dagger always does that 1 damage, so you'll always be even in terms of hero power overall, as long as the Druid keeps pressing it.
So he's used 1 Eviscerate. He's used Patches. That wouldn't be lethal anyway after trading Lasher. The Blood Mage. He's used his 1 Lasher, yeah, so it's the 1 remaining Eviscerate and the 1 SI7 agent in his deck that would have been lethal off the trade there. So 2 out of 18, 1 out of 9. Doesn't seem like good odds to go for in that situation. I like just pushing the 1 extra and then just getting yourself into a better position for the next turn.
Yeah. Also, what this does is it means that Stark has to deal with the Blood Mage, so then that's damage not going face, potentially.
Exactly.
Which means you've got even more time. The Blood Mage is going to buy you time one way or the other, whether it's through card generation or just being on the board as a threat in itself. And this Innovate, not what Stark was after at all.
To say the least, Raven.
A Earthen Scales would have actually been glorious for Stark there. It would have allowed the trade with the Aya straight onto the Giant and gain 6 armor, and he can quite freely then use a hero power on the Thanos and still pressure with the 4 damage from the Jade if he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, like, Primordial Drake would have been great here as well. Would have had the 4/8 taunt in the way, trade out the 10/6 with the 4/4 push face with Aya, set up a win condition for yourself.
Just gonna be the concede.
But Stark gets the final news. The life support has been disconnected. Sorry to return to the macabre analogy, but we're going there. And Muzzy is going out to a 1-0 lead, and I'm happy for Muzz. I hope that he does make it. He is a man that deserves an appearance at an HCT championship for just how good he is at the game.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about Muzzy across multiple HCT broadcasts, multiple seasons, but if you don't know much about him, you can check this out.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Hearthstone Championship Tour. This weekend, it's time for the America's Winter Playoffs. I'm gonna go ahead and reveal my picks here. First off, my favorite is Muzzy. Muzzy's been a top point earner in the Americas region for some time, but he's always, had those choking moments on the big stage.
I don't know, I've been at that point where I was like so close to, qualifying or winning an event, and I've lost like almost every time.
Muzzy has a bit of a reputation as a choke artist, and unfortunately that is just kind of true.
People say, oh, why hasn't Muzzy won this yet? If he's such a good player, why hasn't he qualified for this yet?
Muzzy genuinely is one of the most accomplished players in the game. He's yet to prove it in a competitive manner, but he does have this reputation of letting nerves and emotions just overtake him.
I'm pretty confident when I play it. I don't think I'm nervous at all. I think I played decently well. I have like justification on what I did every turn. I've explained it to other people and they've understood me, so I don't think it was me choking.
We know how good a player he is. The only thing holding Muzzy back historically has been Muzzy.
This is just an absolute destruction for Muzzy here.
I was one step away, like again, and it just feels so bad.
Man, poor Muzzy.
But it's happened every time, so we'll see what happens this time, right? So if I do qualify, it'll sort of silence those people and it'll take a lot of weight off my shoulders. Yeah, it'll make me feel really, really good.
Muzzy feeling confident in his plays regardless of, finishes in tournaments and just missing out time and time and time again. He's been the top point earner last year. He's currently #1 this year.
Yep.
Like, you cannot argue with that, and you cannot argue with pretty much all the Hearthstone pros and everyone who knows the scene is just, Muzzy's a fantastic player, but he needs the result.
Who was that ponytailed idiot saying that Muzzy was a choke artist over and over again? That's ridiculous. Actually, I feel like production's done me dirty a little bit there. I felt bad about the Muzzy line that we took. I probably oversold it. Yes, he has had a record of, getting very, very close over and over again, but Muzzy plays great. Muzzy always plays great. I think, that is just the hallmark of him as a player, is that he's one of the world's very best. And I apologized to Muzzy on Twitter after that cast that a lot of those clips were from. It's like, I probably piled on a bit too heavy. So again, I'm delighted to see Muzzy here having another chance to shut me up, to shut everyone else up, and to prove that he is an absolute Hearthstone god.
Yeah, I don't know who the ponytail guy was, but the guy next to him was a very, very handsome fellow. If I do have to say so myself.
You would have to say so yourself, yeah. No one else is going to do it.
There we go. Muzzy there in the zone, though, getting focused. And we saw as well, just straight after the win, as soon as, Muzzy just locked it in, there was just a nod. It's like, good, okay, great, next. Just fully focused, fully ready to move on with the rest of the series, and ready to take that spot in Shanghai, China.
Right, and I set it up at the start. I said the Miracle Rogue probably finds a win. Too much tempo for Jade Druid, too much threat generation for Quest Warrior, no dirty rats in the Quest Warrior to counter it, etc. There was just so many clues that the Rogue was going to find a win. So yes, it's a 1-0 for Muzzy. Yes, it's a perfect start, but I don't think that's the big win of the series for Muzzy's lineup. I think the Rogue was going to get there some way or another either way.
Yeah, it looks like the players are just about ready to get into game number 2. As we kick off this quarterfinals. Muzzy 1-0 up already. It's going to be on the Paladin, and Stark is just locking in the Jade Druid again. What is Muzzy's Paladin looking like, Sol? I know we've seen many, many variations, but what does Muzzy's look like?
Muzzy's is all the way in on the Control Paladin plan. Not even a big win condition like a N'Zoth that we've seen from some of the other decks. This is just pure control. Your late-game threats come from your Tyrion, your Raglight Lord, Primordial Drakes, and, of course, anything you can pick up from Stonehill Defenders, which are usually fabulous cards. But the matchup that he's run into here from Stark is going to be a problematic one for him, but because he doesn't have a real clean, lethal win condition, Jade Druid just has all the time in the world to start generating board presence. So the one way that you can really starve this out is just leave Jade Druid on a very pressure-light draw, perhaps force them to use Jade Idols for board presence just because they whiff so heavily on minions, or to starve them, hope they don't hit the Nourish or Gadgetzan Auctioneer. You can kind of tell both of those plans you're not really in control of any of that. You are just kind of hoping that your opponent doesn't put the good draw together.
Yeah, and looking at Stark's draw, did just go into the Feral Rage. Not too useful at the moment, but he does have now this strange choice, and this is why we see, the Pyro from Muzzy. Do you Hero Power, or do you just Wild Growth if you have it? We can see Stark has it in hand, but if you don't, then, suddenly the Pyro gets a bit more value, sticks around on the board, then you've got to, then how do you deal with it next turn? Are you looking for a swipe, but then a swipe's pretty slow? Are you hero powering on turn 4 on 4 mana if you Wild Growth? Is that something you actually want to do? I don't know. There's a lot of questions to be asked, but Stark's going to decide that, hey, Wild Growth on 2 is just good.
Yes. Allow me to answer all of those questions for you, Raven. Your growth on 2. That just happens.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll make a note.
Glad we cleared that up.
I was never saying you didn't. Okay, well, there's Jade Idol number 2.
This is actually one of those kinds of hands. If Stark doesn't pick up a couple of threatening minions for the next few turns, and maybe Muzzy can pull ahead with Harrison, Spikeridge Steed, that kind of curve, for example, that's the kind of win where where Control Paladin can find a win. Just equipping True Silver for tempo here, so that means that his Harrison will most likely push him ahead on the following turn, and he'll be able to curve into that Spikeridge Steed. It's not looking too terrible for Muzzy at this juncture.
It's okay, they'll Stark drew a minion. The crab got this.
I mean, talk about whiff tech cards, right? Hungry Crab seems sensible. Paladin was by far the most common class. We saw in the graphic at the start of the day, the most common class, the only ubiquitous class between all of the players still in contention, 5-1 and above. But a lot of those Paladins, you have to add the asterisk, a lot of those Paladins have been the Control or N'Zoth style that we've seen from Muzzy and a few other players, where Hungry Crab is a big whiff. And when you draw a tech card like Hungry Crab, it's not like a Harrison, which if it whiffs, look at it right here. It's just a 5-4.
Okay, yeah.
It's just a 5-4 on the body. It can contest the game state. It can be a platform for a buff for your Spike Ridge steed. Hungry Crab is just a miserable 1-mana 1/2 at all times in matchups where it whiffs.
Yeah, and the usage of this swipe number 2 as well is pretty huge here, because what this means, especially with Spike Ridged in hand, is that it means that as long as Muzzy sticks more than 1 minion onto the board,
Right.
it's very likely that he can Spike Ridged it, because Druid will not be able to, clean sweep a wide board
Yep.
outside of Primordial Drake later on.
Yep.
The swipe's already gone, and then yes, you can Hero Barrow down a 1/1, but how does he actually kill this Hydrologist? And is he even going to even think about it? He does have the crab, but going forward, into the next few turns, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, this
to
of
deal with
course
the minions.
the one target that the crab can find, but the burn bristle here is huge
go.
for exactly those reasons you were going to talk about. Such an awkward minion to deal with. That's going to allow the Spike Ridge to land very comfortably. But now this 3/4 from the Hungry Crab that would have been a clean trade from the Spike Ridge is going to be hidden nicely behind the Jade Behemoth. Repentance got played, picking up value, so now even better, there is a 3/1 hidden behind this Jade Behemoth that can't be traded into effectively.
Yeah, and we've heard a lot of talk about Paladin over the past couple of days as this Spike Ridge Steed goes in. And Muzzy himself has said that he likes to bring decks no one expects, and I personally didn't expect this very hardcore, full control Paladin, but we can actually hear some more words from Muzzy on his lineup choice.
It's always better to bring decks that you feel are good, that people aren't expecting, because if it's a deck people aren't expecting, they won't know how to play against it when they're at that point. If they don't have a lot of practice against it, they have a much slower win percentage versus a deck like a similar deck where they've practiced a bunch, or they know the matchups, they know how to mulligan.
Definitely something to be said of being able to play decks that people aren't used to playing against.
Right.
And even this Paladin, if you ask me, I genuinely would be like, oh yeah, everyone's going to bring just hyper, not die Paladin, as opposed to, you know what I mean? That's what it feels like, right?
Is that the technical name? Is
Not
that the Vicious
Die Paladin.
Syndicate listing?
It is
Hyper
now.
Not Die Paladin?
I'll have a word after the show.
All right. I mean, they still call it Burn Mage.
Not a lot about Burn Mage. Anyway, Tyrion's going to come down now. We did see the Spike Ridge, of course, get traded out, so it's just a 2/6 there. But Muzzy's still in pretty firm control, and although we said we didn't really have a true win condition in the deck, just the size of the minions in hand can beat Stark up at this point. 2 4/8s, Ragnaros
Yeah.
as an 8/8, Tyrion as a 6/6, and then a 15 damage total weapon with over 3 swings. This actually is a lot of damage. It's not often a hand lines up as cleanly as this towards the late game for Paladin.
And just look at the board tension that Muzzy created on the previous turn by swinging and trading into the Tark Reaper. There are now 2 premium targets on the board that require a hero power, and Stark can't hero power them both, which means one way or the other, either the Divine Shield was going to get value or the Stegodon was going to stick around, and it's the Divine Shield that sticks to just pick up a pure value trade into one of these bodies now.
It's huge, just the double swipes being used that early on. It's absolutely so impactful, especially against Paladin that does just press hero power a lot of the time.
Never mind.
You can ping the extra, you can ping the extra damage, and it's just a flexible tool in helping remove some of these big minions. When Druid doesn't have that many tools to do so, Ragnaros coming down here and up to full, and then as you said, Tyrion just getting him. Like I said, there's just so much damage represented here.
Okay, now I set this out at the start of the game, and I said if Stark draws dry on pressure, then Muzzy can do exactly this kind of thing that you're seeing here to him. Stark realizes here he cannot afford another turn without pressure, so you saw him pause there and consider about whether he wanted to throw his Jade Idol into his deck before playing the Nourish, so he was more likely to draw massive pressure this turn. He does hit the Jade Blossom to get a 4/4, but now with the Jade Idol in hand, he still has that tough decision about whether he needs more pressure than this or whether he needs to set out for the more standard, conventionally accepted long game, which is to just fatigue out opponents by with infinite Jade Idols.
And that is just a hard choice at this point in the game, because you could even shuffle those in and not draw any for the rest of the game at that point, because you're in a rough spot yourself. There is the second Nourish that could help out, and Stark even chose to run the 3/3 in to pop the shield on Tyrion, and he could have coined or innovated out hero power, coined hero power realistically, to actually proc it and hold a 3/3 onto the board. But Stark, with the aggressive stance that Muzzy's done, is like, you know what, whack, get him in the face. He's probably thinking, I might not want to take an additional 6 when there's an Ashbringer with no real answer to it either.
I don't think it's just that either. He's also considering the Auctioneer outs, right? Because there are 2 Auctioneers in Stark's deck. An Auctioneer is just game-winning with a hand like this, right? Auctioneer, shuffle your Jade Idol, innovate, coin, cheap spells. Then you hit a Jade Idol, generate a Golem, Jade Idol, generate a Golem. And even if then the bigger quality clear comes out from the opponent, you still have dug so deep through your deck that you're able to refill immediately afterwards as well. So Coin and Innovate are actually very valuable cards to Stark, even though it's so late in the game.
Yep. And that's really playing for the long game as well, because you go for the value game when you're this far behind. It's not something you can normally match. Jade Druid, obviously one of the few that can actually keep up with that. And also the second Gadget Zen, even if that happened, would help out as well, you know, with so many Jades still in the deck. Double Wrath can help clear up some of this. Even Fell Rage, but I feel like with the Ashbringer equipped, probably need Fell Rage for health.
Yeah,
with no Jade
really,
or anything.
really wants the armor from this.
At this moment, it's just going to soak up 1 hit from this Ragnaros.
Innovate has been forced out now, though, due to pressure, which probably looks like he's coining out the Jade Blossom as well to just try and get there on the board state. But he's still a good way behind on this board right now. And Muzzy can just repeat the play from last turn, which is Primordial Drake, Hero Power, smash everything to face yet again. Rag Lightlord heals up the damage it did to itself. Muzzy playing this beautifully, finding the aggressive line to capitalize on the slow pressure start from Stark. He got a very quick pressure hand by Control Paladin standards himself, and he's just rushing to end this game before Stark can climb back into it.
And a great knowledge of this deck as well from Muzzy, I feel. There isn't a great win condition. There isn't, I'll do this in every game or most games and win.
Right.
So he's created one just by using the tools available. As I mentioned earlier, Tyrion, 2 Drakes, and a Ragnaros. Yes, you can get them, you know, like, and he's seen that straight away. I think a lot of players would have just tried to play maybe a slightly slower game.
Yeah.
You wouldn't play super slow because against Jade Druid, that's just not going to work, but maybe slightly slower, maybe not as aggressive.
I think, you know, the minions and etc. would have been played in the same order by most, you know, high-level competent Hearthstone players. The thing that maybe Muzzy has done a bit differently here is just the turns where he's ignored minions from the Jade Druid and just, you know, slam the Primordial Drake gone face, for example. That might be just what gets him over the line and makes the difference here between a 7-0 player and a 4-3 player in this bracket.
Yeah, and suddenly as well, there's an equality already. So that is going to be it. I was going to say the Jade was used not to cycle as well. So that, you know, you can actually pressure Druid out into not cycling the Jade, and then suddenly the game is not infinite anymore. But suddenly as well, Muzzy could 3-0 his way through.
Right.
Into China.
And it's a concept that I've first heard from Zalay, and I've borrowed it a couple of times on broadcast, the value of going face. By being aggressive, you can force your opponent to use all of their highest value tools inefficiently just to stay alive. So imagine in that situation, Jade Druid wasn't just dead on the board right there. He had to play his second Jade Idol for just board position. That means suddenly a quality Consecration, a quality Pyro clears,
wins.
And fatiguing the Druid out of threats is then a legitimate win condition for Muzzy, even if his aggression fails. So when you're playing against a more value-heavy deck, just exploit their value by attacking them in the face and forcing them to make inefficient plays.
Yeah, they have to. If you become the person who creates the response as opposed to the reactive player, then you're in such a dominant spot. Normally, it is good to just keep, you know, pushing on that bit that's hurting them. You know, just keep pressuring them and keep that alive there. Muzzy looking pretty chill. Stark as well, looking very focused indeed. I mean, already Stark has had a great performance. I mean, like, first appearance
For
in
a first
HCT,
time,
it's
yeah,
kind of nuts.
it's crazy.
And he's still in it. It's 0-2 down, but you do have to win with all of your decks here to go through. So 1 more win required from Muzzy. I did see that it was the his Quest Warrior he has left.
And I would imagine that Stark is going to queue up his Jade Druid here and take his borderline free win. It can happen. Quest Warrior can get this job done. Sometimes Sulfurous and Die Insect just get you there, but Jade Druid is just the quintessential deck. But yeah, careful with that one. that got dangerous for a second. Quintessential deck for beating up on Control Warrior strategies.
I love danger.
I bet you do.
So there we go. We can see the Mulligan choice, not keeping the Curator. probably a little bit afraid of Jade Druid doing Jade Druid things in terms of just creating an early Jade
All right,
board.
Lorinda.
It's too much time here. That's global games.
I know.
But you know what I mean, in terms of generating an early board, suddenly Curator can actually not matter.
Yeah.
If they go fast enough. Stonehold Defender is going to help with this pretty lacking taunt hand so far from Muzzy.
Right.
Double Innovate and Nourish. Just naming cards now.
Earthen Scales. Ravaging Ghoul.
Just doing my job, just letting you know what's in the hand.
Say what you see.
In case anyone's watching on like 240.
Yeah. Raven providing radio commentary for those of you who can't see what's going on.
Got a face for it.
GG, well played.
Okay, well, Innovate is going to be used, or at least the first one's going to be used for the Fandral Stag Helm. And that's kind of awkward, actually, to deal with for the Warrior. There isn't really a lot of great answers here, especially just on 2 mana. And it is going to go into Innovate.
Yes, exactly. That's the line. It was when Stark was just considering, like, do I make the really, really timid play here where I just drop the double Innovate in 1 turn to make Fandral Nourish happen? Or do I just stagger it over 2 turns, make it happen much, much quicker? And you go through your head and you say, what's the realistic punish here? Well, it's Whirlwind Coin Execute
Okay.
to kill a Fandral. That's about the only way this is going down. So, yeah.
Smile from Muzzy there. He's like, whew, you got me. Okay, let's see what happens now.
Right.
Absolutely insane. One, developing the Fandral onto the board is just good for trading these low-cost taunts. Actually can get some work done there in itself. But also, you've just ramped. You've just drawn cards.
Yep.
You still have a minion on board, and next turn you're so far ahead in mana that you can use those cards you've drawn at the same time. Absolute huge power play here from Stark.
Muzzy did find the Tar Creeper, though, so he can continue curving out with taunt minions, but we are looking for rays of light in a very dark realm for Muzzy right now, because I said this was a borderline free win at the outset. When you go Innovate Fandral into Innovate Nourish on consecutive turns, that takes borderline free win into an absolute stomping from Stark's perspective. But again, I talked about how Muzzy's Miracle Rogue was not a particularly important matchup for him to win. His Rogue felt like it was going to get a victory somewhere. Kind of the same thing for Jade Druid from Stark's side. It felt like, you know, with the Control Paladin and with the Quest Warrior both in there, Jade Druid was going to get the job done eventually. And it looks very much like Stark is in a position to make that happen.
Yeah, especially with this opening. Absolutely huge here. Jade Behemoth, great. Just more Jades. It's the combination now of the ramp and going into just 3 Jade cards available right now. Still Fandral's on the board getting value. There's a kill on this Tar Creeper. Well, now there's a fantastic follow-up, at least for the Ali Armorsmith. But facing down this kind of board, ugh. And it's not as if you even want to be brawling something like this as Warrior. This feels like the brawl you would want against an aggro deck.
Right.
And like, this is like, okay, if I brawl this board, I can't brawl those 10-10s later on.
Yeah, generally,
Awkward.
when you are playing against one of the most threat-dense decks in the entire game, brawling on turn 5 is not a great feeling. Ghoul Sleep with the Fishes, with the Fiery War Axe equipped for the full clear, though, that is looking much more promising.
Yeah, but no end to green in sight as Stark continues to draw into these Jades. Can just go for the Spirit and the Ramp as well. And the benefit he has is these Jades he hasn't needed to worry about Jade Idols yet. They've all been the Jades you do actually just want to play and just get out of your hand as quickly as possible.
Right. The Auctioneer in hand, I believe, yeah, we just saw Innovate Fandral into Innovate Nourish, right? So both Wild Growths are still in deck for Stark at this point, which gives that Auctioneer crazy potential to go off, although the fact that both of those Innovates were used on the big power play early does reduce a little bit of his efficacy, but still. Jade Spirit and Jade Blossom here, pushing himself right the way up to 10 mana, giving him maximum chances of an insane Auctioneer turn if he does hit the Wild Growth. If not, then just Jade Behemoth and keep on trucking. That'll do just fine.
Yeah, and just look at the power level of like the mana difference at this point. 10 mana next turn for Stark. Muzzy's on 6.
Yeah.
And also, it's not as if Stark's got no cards. At worst, he could gadget his hand at just Earthen Scales. You know, if he really needed, he felt the need for card draw. But realistically, Jade Behemoth is just 2 cards in 1. So you can just dump that on worst case hero power. And you're like,
that's a turn.
Still a pretty okay turn. Let's move on. And now Muzzy's got a tough choice here. He's only 2 out of 7 on the quest. And this is definitely a matchup where you need to rush the quest.
Yeah,
This is not, I'm going to throw away the quest and outlast the Jade. You know,
Sick
try
plan.
it, guys. Try it. Okay, well, Ghoul can clear off one of these. Oh, only asking a hero power of Stark to be able to cut straight through this Armor Smith.
Stark just taking a moment here, leaning back in his chair. Muzzy took a very long and considered turn there with the Ali Armorsmith and then, dropped it down slightly off curve. 5 out of 6, then took his decision about which minion to attack. So Stark's just thinking about the implications here of, okay, if I attack into this, I've already seen one sleep with the fishes, but I'm slightly vulnerable to the second one. What does my board development mean against Brawl in this position? Like, what is Muzzy trying to achieve with this Ali Armorsmith? He knows he can't play Primordial Drake just yet, so he's safe from that kind of position. But you saw just a very considered moment there from Stark as he leant back and said, all right, Stark, we're in a good position here. Thanks, Upper Stark. I agree. But we need to make sure not to throw this away.
I wonder if he calls other Stark Tony.
Very possible.
Maybe.
Well, alternatively, Barry.
Maybe.
Come on, you're not going with me on thanks, other Barry. It's a
No.
classic. Oh, come on.
The one thing that has impressed me, because we've cast Stark yesterday
Yes.
as well, is that he has taken this considered approach, right? He, regardless of the situation, he looks reasonably calm, taking his time on turns, clearly thinking through plays. Again, for a new player, he's actually been very chill, at least from our view.
Was it Stark's game where he was going to a rope on a lot of turns and his opponent was getting very, very frustrated with the fact that he
Stark and Phenom.
Was that the game? I'm wondering.
I know it was Phenom.
Yeah. Okay.
Might have been.
See.
But yeah, it could well be. It might have actually been. But yeah, seems very chill. Now the Gadget Zan's going to come out to play. There is Wrath and Earthen Scales at minimum that he can cast. He starts another Earthen Scales, double Jades in the deck as well, Jade Idols. So if he wants to Wrath for...
Double Wild Growth.
Yeah, double Wild Growth as well, so... Is he going for the Earthen Scales? Interesting.
So this will, if he's really, okay, beautiful. Pays my point off before I even got to it. If he's
That's cheating. You can't make the point after.
If he's really digging to try and hit a Wild Growth, this added an extra percentage into the calculation where he played the 1-mana spell first, and then the next card in his deck was a 1-mana Jade Idol. Then he has another chance to rebuy then for the Wild Growth, which would be the absolutely insane draw this turn.
Yeah, let's see what he goes for.
I love it when a plan comes together. Just making A-Team references now.
say,
What's happening to me?
We've degraded. I mean, A-Team's pretty cool.
Secretly really old.
It's not a secret. There's the Brawl coming from Muzzy. And Muzzy is actually playing 2 Brawls in his list. We've seen a lot of players only bringing 1, and much to your dismay a lot of the time. So he does have 2, so I don't want to use... Muzzy can waste 1, that's not what he can use 1 more freely, knowing he has a second one as a backup. As opposed to if he was playing a 1 Brawl list versus Jade Druid, you need to hold off till the final moment to try and clinch that win out of nowhere. He's going to use 1 right now, though.
As we await the outcome of this Brawl, it's more crucial to the opponent's psyche to have a second Brawl in your deck, right? Because when they know that you only have 1 Brawl and you play 1 Brawl, then that's game at that point, right? They just flood board and say,
play anything
all right,
they want,
threat's gone. But when they know you have a second one, that's the big reason why you, as you said, you can afford to be a bit more liberal with the first, because you still have fear equity banked in your deck in the form of the second Brawl that you've submitted in your visible deck list to the tournament.
Exactly. One of the differences between open and closed deck lists, we do have open here at HCT. Muzzy has a Curator, which is actually pretty good. His hand is doing that Quest Warrior thing of getting a little bit shallow as he moves into the turns sort of 6, 7, 8 onwards.
Yep.
But the Curator's going to be able to fix that.
Primordial Drake just out of necessity here for Stark. It's not a really great play for him by any means. 4-8 on the board isn't the most pressure he could have generated this turn by any means, and just injuring his own Jade Behemoth is to his detriment as well. But when it's either that or pass, then you know it's going to happen. It just opens up the window to this return Primordial Drake from Muzzy to be able to take care of the rest of the Jade Behemoth.
Yeah, I love the way Primordial Drakes interact with each other, in that every time one comes down after the other, it makes the trade turns more and more likely.
Right, yeah, if you have like 4 in a row, there's a perfect chain one after the other, right, yeah.
Gadget Zan's drawn for Stark now. That's going to be a next turn plan, as I don't think Gadget Zan and Hungry Crab is the best combo.
No, it's just not a combo at all.
It's just a bad combo.
Those cards just don't interact with each other, Raven.
They're just good friends outside of work.
Are they? They hang out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even so, the gadgets are next turn at this moment in time. Swipe, Feral Rage, not great cards to combine it with, especially as you've shuffled the Jades in. So now I actually like this from Stark. You're not really gonna, if you're only on this gadget and getting some work done next turn, you kind of may as well use the expensive spells now to try and get ahead on the board.
Side note, I think currently, as of just this very moment, that Curator draws nothing. There is one Direhorn Hatchling in Muzzy's deck, which is on the board. There are two Primordial Drakes, one of which has died, one of which is in hand. So when this Hatchling dies, it will stick the Matriarch back in the deck, which the Curator then can draw. And I think that's why you see Muzzy going for the Hatchling this turn over the Drake, is that he wants to get value out of his Curator sooner rather than later.
Nice.
Oh, that felt good.
Wasn't even on purpose. Especially because next turn you can Curator, complete the quest, and equip the weapon if he really needs to. So it does give him that slight opening as well.
Right. Going to trade through the Ali Armor Smith. That is 3 doses of armor that Muzzy gets to gain here. But the armor, honestly, of course, health totals are always relevant when it comes to trying to find a win condition. But the health total, the armor total is not a massive deal here for Stark. He is just in a position where he knows that he can, in fact, gain board control. But Muzzy now is going to be able to activate the counter swing very, very quickly in his own regards. This Auctioneer goes down thanks to the Primordial Drake. Sulfuras is going to be in play next turn. And now Muzzy is off to the races, trying to end this game as quickly as he can. And look at how empty Stark's hand is. That's just a 7/7. It's not big enough to race the Ragnaros hero power just yet.
When we talk about this matchup, I always bring up the Warrior can do it.
Yeah?
The Warrior can do it. If they bring the board down low enough, then it's not likely that the Jade Druid can actually just splurge Jades onto the board every turn, right? They normally can't. They rely on the big Jades surviving and pushing through damage. But now look at this. If Jade Idol gets played, it's a 7/7, I believe. It can just be killed by the hero power.
It's a 7/7.
Yeah, it can just die by the hero power. Also, there are just big taunts in the way that don't even, 7/7 doesn't even kill the Drake. This could be a huge, huge problem for Stark.
Oh,
His next draw is going to be absolutely vital here.
I have been burned so many times, Raven, by saying, you know what? It looks like Quest Warrior's in a good spot this game, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Jade Druid comes back. But you know what, Raven? It looks like Quest Warrior's in a good spot this game.
Now you've just cursed Muzzy. It's like he's going to lose. But now this is looking fantastic. Wrath from Start to try and draw into something, but Tar Creeper, who cares? It's just not good enough.
I care.
I mean, I like Tar Creeper as much as
Creeper's
the
a
next
bro.
guy. But against this board, it's not going to be good enough. We see the value as well. There's Matriarch in hand. There's Dirty Rat that can actually negate. Actually, are there any Jade Generation minions left? There aren't.
I think there might be a Spirit left. I don't want to commit to that. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I think he played 2, but as always, could be wrong. As often I am.
What's crazy about this game, just as, we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but remember, massively favoured matchup to begin with, and then Innovate Fandral, Innovate Nourish was the opening. What? How do you beat that as Quest Warrior? Muzzy,
Like
you
this.
god. Why did no one have Muzzy on the predictions board? Our fellow casters are idiots. How does no one pick Muzzy?
If we were there, we would have picked Muzzy. Okay. There you go. That's why we're not allowed to do it anymore, have you noticed, guys?
Yeah, exactly. I just nailed the Standardachi pick, and everyone went, all right, Soul's just too accurate.
Even I got frozen the time before in playoffs.
Exactly.
Okay, so everything's just going to come down from Muzzy now. There is no real drawback of not playing, his hand out. He needs to catch up on his health, because that is just a consideration that Stark actually, over the course of this game, has generated a lot of additional armor. But look at this board now. Jade Blossom can now help to create a 7/7 and an 8/8 Jade onto the board. But frankly, is it enough when just the minions trade into it? That's completely disregarding the hero power in the weapon.
Right, and this is why, I mean, this is one of several reasons why you saw the Jade Idol being held the previous turn by Stark. Just putting a 7/7 on the board that turn was never going to be good enough. You knew there was the hero power that could potentially snipe it. You knew there was a 6/9 taunt in hand that had been drawn by Curator, because Stark would have kept track of exactly the same thing I was talking about with Curator a few turns ago. So one 7/7 on the board had no upside. What Stark was waiting for here is an opportunity where he could potentially threat flood the board with multiple Jades in the same turn that couldn't be dealt with. And secondly, more obviously, he really, really wants to hold on to that Jade Idol so that his deck cannot be fatigued out.
Yeah. It's just a big ass now from Stark. He just got to the point where his hand wasn't continually powerful enough to keep going. He had a great early game, a reasonable mid game, but couldn't finish it out. And that brawl being pretty key as well.
Starting with the hero power, as always, nails the 7/7, and that is just fine. He doesn't need to be pushing damage to face with Sulfuras right now, because look at the minion presence. That is a clean 16 being pushed this turn if he wants to swing, and of course he does. And look at the smile. Muzzy is feeling it now, like it's finally all paid off for him. The curse is dead. Muzzy is looking like he has wrapped this one up.
Yeah, after so many times of being so close in so many HCT events, in the last call, top points earner for America's region last year, currently top points earner this year, and now the first player from the playoffs of America's Spring to go to Shanghai, China, to join the rest of the 8 players we already have. He must be absolutely ecstatic at this point. Finally paid off for him.
Yeah, you can tell how much it means to him to be, of course, heading to Shanghai with all of these fabulous players that we've already mentioned. But for Muzzy in particular, this guy is A, incredibly talented, B, incredibly dedicated to the game. He's just had those rough breaks at the last over and over again. Now, finally, he has squashed the curse.
There you go.
And wait, squashed the casters as well, who keep calling him a choke artist. We promise never again. Muzzy, you have proven you have what it takes.
Yeah, look at the smile as well. Just gonna feel super happy about this. We can check out all the players who are so far going to Shanghai for the championships. We see the 4 players from China, the 4 from Europe, which we were very impressed with last weekend, looking like absolutely amazing lineup. Well, Americans are looking like they're putting up an amazing lineup so far.
Yeah, we asked the question multiple times, how on earth can the Americas region match what Europe have sent out to Shanghai here? And, well, if they were going to do that, Muzzy is a pretty good starting point.
Yeah, and we'll be able to have some words with Muzzy as well. Huge congratulations on that win. You must be feeling absolutely ecstatic. But if you can put into words how you're feeling after being so close to qualifying and to making it in so many tournaments, you've actually made it to the championship this time.
Well, all I can say is, did I choke that time, Sottle?
Wow!
Deserved. No, I take it. Like, I apologize straight away. I went in way too hard. I'm pleased for you, man. I think you're an amazing player, and I'm glad that you did it.
No words. There we go.
Got to make it finally. It feels really good. Like that last game when the Innervate Fandor and the Innervate Nourish, what happened? I'm like, okay, how do I win? He needs to play Jades, and I need to top deck exactly sleep with the fishes on 5, so I have the goal, and then everything worked out. I feel great. I feel great.
Yeah, finally everything's worked out for you. And, you know, you talked about that last game and how grim it looked early on. If you'd taken a loss to that Druid, were you still confident with the Warrior actually getting a win throughout the rest of the series as well, based on your opponent's lineup?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know his deck list, so my Warrior has Dirty Rats. His Warrior does not. I know exactly how that matchup works. I've played it many, many, many times. I feel pretty confident that I could pull the win in that match. And then I also had it versus his Murloc Paladin, and people might say that's like a bad matchup for Warrior, but I have a really high win rate in that matchup as well. Like the Dirty Rats, the Brawls, double Brawl, the extra card draw, it helped so much. So I felt pretty confident even if I didn't win that game. Like I saw the Innervate Nourish happen after the Innervate Fandor, and I'm like, okay, so what are my next matchups going to be? But I ended up winning.
I want to talk to you quickly about the Paladin versus Druid game as well that you had. Like, how do you feel about that matchup? Because I loved how aggressively you played it, just ending the game very quickly. He did have like a very dry draw in terms of resources, but you just ignoring minions and hitting face allowed you to capitalize on that. Is that like something that you try to do generally in that matchup?
Yeah, that matchup, since I'm Control Paladin, I don't have as much pressure as Murloc Paladins do. And as you saw in my opening hand, I kept Wild Pyro, Outdoor Peacekeeper, True Silver. So I just wanted to have an early curve that if he doesn't have, you know, Jade, like early Jades, then those minions can take control of the board and push damage and get in that chip damage. And two cards that, like, the cards that are really important in the matchup are obviously Spike Ridge Steed, Kyrian, and then Rag Lightlord is surprisingly amazing because it's so hard for them to kill it. Like, you can value trade into their minions and then it'll heal itself up. And yeah, you just have to be aggressive, go face, because they do have the inevitability of the Jades in the late game. So I kind of starved his removal early with forcing the double swipe and then the Harrison, and then at that point he didn't really have a way to deal with my Rag Lightlord, so I just went face and keep hitting him in the face and
Yeah, well, congratulations. As I said, I think you're a phenomenal player. I'm sure you're over the moon. And I solemnly swear I will never dare to refer to you as a choke artist again. Well done.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Saddle and Raven.
Yeah, we can check that out now. It's just absolutely amazing. When the moment Muzzy takes the win, it's just the nod. It's done.
That face right there, that's like, I'm going to burn Soul so hard when I get on that interview.
I've been planning this for a long time. Yeah. That was an absolutely amazing first quarterfinal for us. Awesome to see Muzzy go through with a very convincing 3-0. But we've got the next quarterfinal coming up right now.